Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm coming to y'all with yet another deck tech. This time it's on Hapatra Vizier Poisons. Now, I do want to apologize for the noise you may hear. I live in Texas, it's summertime, and it is hot as hell outside, so I do have both a fan and an air conditioner going in here, and it's actually still pretty freaking hot, so I couldn't really turn them off. I would roast alive, trying to do the video, so hopefully the noise doesn't bother you too badly. So Hapatra Vizier Poisons is a commander that I was very excited about the moment that she was spoiled in Amonkhet, and she kind of saved the set for me. I mean, honestly, Amonkhet was still a pretty awful set, but we at least got some pretty cool and interesting generals out of it, and I feel like Hapatra offered something to Golgari that it didn't really have before. In a world full of attrition effects and sacrifice effects and reanimation effects, Hapatra is truly unique for green-black, with the only thing being even in any way similar to it would be Nath of the Guilt Leaf, although he is obviously also a very different type of deck. So Hapatra's pretty simple. She is a 2/2 for green and black legendary creature human cleric. Whenever she deals combat damage to a player, you may put a -1/-1 counter on a creature, and whenever one or more -1/-1s are put on a creature, you create a 1/1 green snake token with Death Touch. So she's a token-producing engine. The deck is built to use her in the early to mid-game to create tokens by attacking, and in the late game she just kind of sits there as value, while you generate tokens with her secondary effect without having to go to combat. So, pretty fun general. Always want to get her out early and just have some fun. Mana base, I always kind of skim through these, so I'll do the same thing here. Command Tower, Mana Confluence, and City of Brass. We're in enemy colors here, and in a 2-color pairing, we don't have a lot of untapped sources of colored mana, so these types of cards are great. Exotic Orchard is excellent in here. I would run Forbidden Orchard, but I don't want to give people 1/1 blockers, although it could be good to just, you know, put the 1/1s out there and then put -1/-1s on them. I just don't have enough ways to give Hapatra unblockable in order to really take advantage of that. I do need Reflecting Pool in this deck, though. Verdant Catacombs obviously just finds us one of our dual lands. Bayou, don't be too impressed. That is a collector's edition or international edition square cornered, but obviously included as a dual land. Overgrown Tomb, solid card, just it's our shock land. Woodland Cemetery, a lot of folks today call them these check lands. I still call them buddy lands. They're one of my favorite untapped sources of colored mana because they're so easy to hit that effect. Llanowar Wastes, Pain lands are just always solid. I love the Tainted lands, and I feel like if you're in a black deck with its multicolored, you need to be running the Tainted lands. They're just so easy to get to produce that colored mana. Twilight Mire, Filter lands are just solid. Fast land in Blooming Marsh is good turns 1, 2, and 3. Late game it's just a guild gate, but we could do worse. Malady gives us some small amount of card advantage by letting us kind of set up our draw. Hissing Quagmire is just decent after a lot of board wipes. We just don't have much in play. It's also a good Rattlesnake to lead back in case we don't have any Duck Touch Snakes online. Gaia's Cradle. Sadly, my wife has taken both of my Black Border Cradles for her decks, for her Nath deck and her Hazezon Tamar deck. So, we're running the Gold Border one, but it's fine. Still, I have no issues with Gold Border cards personally. Just solid in this deck. It's usually going to make, you know, 5, 6, 7 mana for us, so we can cast some of our big spells. If Near Dead Lands is a black pain land that can also pay 2 black and tap to sacrifice itself and put 2 -1/-1s on a creature. We can only do that at sorcery speed, unfortunately, but it's just a late game, you know, it's a nice way to put some -1/-1s on some things when we don't need the extra mana. Bojuka Bog, just solid graveyard hate, a lot of black decks run it. Reliquary Tower pretty much goes in almost every commander deck if you have any kind of card draw online. And then for basics, we run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 forests. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 swamps. Okay. Into some of the mana ramp, we have Soul Ring, because Soul Ring, Fellwar Stone. There's very often going to be green and black decks at the table, so it's just 2 mana for a rock that can make either of our colors. The Signet needs no explanation. Sakura-Tribe Elder is just rampant growth on a stick. Seems good. I prefer these types of effects on creatures when I can get them. Druid's Repository is one of my favorites because it's whenever the creatures attack, it gets charge counters and can remove charge counters to make mana of any color. So I think the 1 or 2 proliferate effects I have in here, I think there's 2, they can both hit the Druid's Repository. And since it's on attack, we don't care if the creature's hit or not, it's just going to make us mana. We can turn excess tokens into mana. Growing Rights, some small form of card advantage, but it mostly flips into Gaia's Cradle. Cultivate and Kodama's Reach are par for the course with any green deck. Okay, now we're into some of our Neg1 Matters cards. Nest of Scarabs does the same thing that Hapatra does, except it gives us 1/1 black insect tokens. And Flourishing Defenses is actually better than either, because while the other two care about if it's 1 or more, we still only get 1 token. With Flourishing Defenses, if we like Black Sun Zenith for 16 and there's, I don't know, 8 creatures on the battlefield, we're going to get 16 times 8 elves. Seems pretty good. Blowfly Infestation, it's actually a card that can be used to combo with several of the cards in the deck, but it's mostly in here for the value. I don't purposely build in infinite combos in this deck, with the exception of 1. This just happens to be able to go infinite. So when a creature dies that had a Neg1 on it, we can put a Neg1 on a creature. The way we go infinite with this is we have like a Zulaport Cutthroat or Obelisk Spider in play with a Hapatra or one of our other, when a creature gets a Neg1 make a token effects. And we put the Neg1 counter on the 1/1 token that comes into play. It dies, and we make another one, and it dies, and we make another one, and we just infinitely drain everybody out. Crumbling Ashes, this says at the beginning of our upkeep, we must destroy target creature with a Neg1 on it, so it's just good removal. Obelisk Spider, as I mentioned previously, it whenever it deals combat damage to a creature, it puts a Neg1 on it, and whenever we put 1 or more Neg1s on a creature, each opponent loses 1 and we gain 1 life, so kind of a cool variant on the Blood Artist effect. Necroskitter has Wither, and says whenever a creature an opponent controls dies that had a Neg1 on it, we bring it back under our control, so it can kind of steal some things for us. Dusk Urchin says when it attacks or blocks, we put a Neg1 on it, and when it dies, we draw a card for each Neg1 on it, which is really cool. Usually we just draw 3 off of it, but, you know, 3 mana draw 3 is not bad. It's also going to make us some snakes over the course of the game, which is nice, or we want to put Neg1s on it, and it just does it on its own, so that's nice. And if we Black Sun Zenith for a huge amount, we're just going to draw a lot of cards. Wickerbough Elder is one of the better cards in the deck because it enters with 1/1 counters, a Neg1 counter, so we actually make a snake on enter. And we can pay a green and remove a Neg1 to naturalize something, so we actually want to pile Neg1s on the Wickerbough Elder. Ammit Eternal is just fun. Opponents casting spells put Neg1s on it, we're going to make a bunch of snakes. Worst case scenario, this is 3 mana, make 5 snake tokens, which could be a lot worse. But if it happens to deal damage to a player, we remove the Neg1 from it so it can reset and do it all over again, which is nice. Decimator Beetle, it's just a decent card. Allows us to move around the Neg1 from our creatures onto our opponent's creatures. Channeler Initiate is another one we actually want to pile Neg1s on, because then we're not only making snake tokens, but we can use those Neg1s to make mana. Devoted Druid is in here alongside Quillspike, because together they can make infinite snake tokens, or insect tokens, or elf tokens, depending on what we have in play. And then, of course, we just make Quillspike infinitely big, but it's mostly in here just to generate infinite tokens. And, you know, they're both decent on their own. The Quillspike can remove Neg1s from, like, Hapatra if we had to put one on it in the early game. And Devoted Druid is just a way to make mana and create some snakes. Vatu Ildal, it turns a creature into a 1/1 until end of turn, so whenever Hapatra puts a Neg1 on it, it'll die, which is really cool. We have some ways of putting Neg1s on things like Splendid Agony, Grim Affliction, which is also a proliferate effect, so I have more than I thought I did. Tormentive Venom is a pretty solid one. Incremental Blight is just a classic. Liliana's Influence, I don't run the Liliana Death Wielder, but putting a Neg1 on each creature we don't control for 6 can just make us a huge army of tokens. Obviously, Black Sun Zenith is the best of the best. Carnifex Demon is another one we actually don't mind putting Neg1s on because we can just use it to make more. Contagion Clasp puts a Neg1 on something and can proliferate. Trigon of Corruption, kind of similar. We can put charge counters on it, remove charge counters from it to put Neg1 counters on things. Contagion Engine is the better version of Contagion Clasp. And Serrated Arrows, because I try to jam Homeland's cards in as many decks as possible because it's my favorite set in Magic. We have Plaguemaw Beast, which can tap, sack your creatures to proliferate, which is solid. Champion of Lambholt, we're making a lot of snakes, and this is one of our ways to kind of get Hapatra in there unblockably. Beastmaster Ascension is going to make our snakes huge whenever they attack, swing in there. We usually wait till we have 7 creatures on board to just swing out with, so they automatically get the pump. Triumph of the Hordes is the best over unaffected magic. I actually had to pick between this and Craterhoof Behemoth, and I ended up going with Triumph. It's just so much better. Classic Overrun. It's not the best effect in the world, and I honestly do need to replace it, but it does well enough for now. 3/3 and Trample is perfectly sufficient. We have some ways to protect Hapatra because once people have played against it once or twice, they do want to kill it. So Swiftfoot Boots and Lightning Greaves are par for the Coursing Commander. Whispersilk Cloak is both protection and unblockable, while Key to the City acts as a source of unblockability and even a source of kind of bad card draw. It's kind of like a really slow looting effect, but it's been worth it to me in the past just to kind of cycle through and get some relevant cards after we've been blown out. Zulaport Cutthroat. Creatures die all the time, especially ours, so get some drain going, and again, it can be used in a combo, so why not? Viscera Seer helps us trade our snakes off to set up our draw steps. Parallel Lives is going to help us make double snakes. We don't run Doubling Season in this deck. I had a couple copies, and I decided not to put them in here because when we do put Neg1 in our own things, we're not getting rewarded for each Neg1 put on there, and oftentimes we can just accidentally kill our own creatures. And Doubling Season is going to double the Neg1 we put on our own thing, so we actually don't want it. Parallel Lives is the better card for this deck. I've run Vampiric Tutor, Demonic Tutor, and Diabolic Intent. They can just find whatever card we need them to find whenever we need them to find it. Beseech the Queen is also in here. It's a good budget tutor, but it generally will find most of what we need in this deck. Skull Clamp is an excellent source of card draw, trading away snakes for cards. Generous Patron was like the best card to come out of Battle Bond for this deck. ETB support too, so we can just, draw some cards off the bat with its second effect. Whenever we put one or more counters on a creature we don't control, we draw a card. So it turns Hapatra and our other Neg1 effects into a draw engine. Very nice. Love this card. And we pulled a foil. Phyrexian Arena, pretty much a staple in most black decks. Just draws additional card and upkeep, lose a life. Harmonize, it's one of the first cards I put into every green deck that I build. Driven to Despair is a great source of card draw because if we pay both sides of it, it's going to give our creatures Trample and Menace. When they deal damage to a player, we draw a card and they discard a card. So for 4 mana, it can just get us so much advantage while giving our opponent so much disadvantage. Seshiro the Anointed, we're making snake tokens, so let's go ahead and pump them and draw cards off of them. Eternal Witness, we do need to get some stuff back from our graveyard. It's always good to have this in pretty much every green deck that you got. For removal, pretty standard green-black package here. We've got Abrupt Decay, Putrefy, Maelstrom Pulse, and Beast Within, as well as Closing Grip, because Soul Rings are annoying. We also like Reclamation Sage because we can Skull Clamp it later on whenever we've already used its effect. And then for some wipe effects, we play Pernicious Deed and Toxic Deluge because it's probably the best board White Black has to offer. So yeah, that is my Hapatra Vizier Poison stack. I actually just got it re-sleeved because a friend of mine just gave me a brand new set of Green Dragon Shields, which was very appreciated. If you're looking for a Golgari deck that doesn't do the typical Golgari things, you're not looking for Marin, and you're not looking for Gerard, and you're not looking for any of the other really well-known type of generals, and you just want something fun and combat-focused, and a color combination that's not known for it, definitely consider Hapatra Vizier Poisons. She's a very fun deck, a very unique deck, and she has, I'd say, a moderate power level. She's not going to fight the Zers and the Proshes of the world, at least not effectively, but what she will do is give you a fun, interesting, interactive gameplay experience that you and your friends will likely talk about for days to come. So, that was my Hapatra Vizier Poisons deck tech. Let me know in the comment section if you want to see more deck techs, because I have plenty more that I can do. So until next time, peace, and take care.